let's talk about Andrade El Idolo, though, and his return to AEW last night. I'm not going to lie. In a weird way, as much as we've joked about bouncing around and all of that stuff since it's sort of been talked about as far as fodder online, whether you're checking Twitter or Instagram or whatever it may be, that joke's been made 1,000 times. But weirdly, of all of the Andrade returns, whether it be to WWE, the AEW debut, the first run, or this one, I actually thought this landed better than I ever could have fathomed. I didn't really expect it to be so exciting, but it was like, no way that fast is sort of what it felt like. And so it actually felt surprising. And that part of it, I really didn't hate. Mary, I'm going to go to you first on this one, though. What were your thoughts on the Andrade return? Did you like it? Also, the Callis family thing, I'm not so sure about. What'd you think of that?
It's just like you said. I think this particular return actually hit right on the money. As dominant as he was, to go after one of the top guys right now, Kenny Omega. I mean, to go from where he was in WWE not being televised at all to right off the bat just going in with the Don Callis family right after Omega, I think it was right out of the park. But I will say it's simple: eat, sleep, join the Don Callis family, repeat. Like I don't know. I don't want to say any real negative things on the family, but I just hope it actually works out for him. But I'm curious about their Thanksgiving dinners.
Yeah, that has got to be an odd family Thanksgiving, no doubt about it. And it's kind of funny to me. They're almost getting NWO like, seeing the stance and everybody standing next to each other at the end. It's like the group's getting a little big. And part of me feels like it's been fun to see a lot of people join the group, but like, why are they all friends? Is Don Callis just connecting all of them? Is he trying to be Paul Heyman and just sort of call the shots for a number of different stars? How's he convincing them every single time? The other one is you got the hologram situation. Maybe I just don't have a keen eye or wasn't paying enough attention, but I really didn't get what was going on with that. I'm totally still not sure what's up with that. Like the clone, whatever we're calling it. It's just odd there.
It's even hard from back in the day.
Yeah, and I'm going to go to you on the same subject. What do you think about newest member of the Callis family, the El Idolo return? Of course, it was fun. Kenny cutting the promo, the classic good bye and good night and everything. Kenny versus El Idolo in any scenario on paper is just an outstanding prospect of a match. There's no doubt about that. But I do want to get your thoughts on the execution of the segment last night and everything that went down as far as the Callis family, and then the newest addition, Andrade El Idolo.
Yeah, the Don Callis family is essentially the United Nations. If you're international, you're with Don. And it's just, it's gotten to the point, like you said, it's like an NWO type deal where it's like everyone's a part of this group. And it's like, but what are you doing with them? Other than Don being a mouthpiece for these people, I don't really get it. Does that make Lance Archer the disciple? Like, I don't know what, or is he Virgil? Like, what is he? You know, this is one of those things that Andrade, I've always thought was a solid talent, but, you know, he's just returns at this point. That's all he is. He has a great return, and then nobody does anything with him. He left WWE the first time because he's like, I was not appreciated enough. So he goes to AEW. He gets a grand entrance when he comes there. And nothing really happened there. Then he goes back to WWE, makes a grand return. Then allegedly some violations of the wellness, as Donnie mentioned. That's the word on the street with that. And he didn't get future endeavored. He got straight up fired. That's why he had no 90-day non-compete clause, apparently, allegedly. So he returned. Great return to take out Kenny. Obviously, we don't know the full details of Andrade, why he got released. There's rumors and all that other stuff. I don't know if I'm AEW, I would have brought him back as quickly because of the potential issues that the dirt's coming out with all this stuff. But I'm hoping he does well. I'm hoping this isn't just oh, great, he returned. We're going to push him. We're going to have him against Kenny. And then he just disappears. And he just becomes yet another member of the Don Callis family. I mean, we had Josh Alexander when they brought him in. You know, this was a big deal. He was one of the most dominant champions in TNA. He's kind of he's one of the forgotten members of Don's group. Like, he's barely a blip on the radar. So I'm hoping Andrade does well there, but the track record is not exactly phenomenal with his booking after the returns.
No doubt about it. And Donnie brings up a really good point here. He said, here's the good/bad. Andrade needs a mouthpiece, so a manager is a must. But his biggest weakness is refusing to improve his ability to communicate with fans, and this will not help him improve. That is a factor here. If Don drags him to the dance, and then suddenly we have to do he's no longer alongside Don Callis scenario, then where do we go from there? And he's almost provided himself with a ceiling, which I just sort of find odd in this scenario. Kenny Omega is a great first opponent in this scenario, this situation, though. That is the biggest positive, I think, of all of this. Donnie, with this shows that there are far too many heels in AEW who can't talk. I think that's kind of fair. There are some that can. There's a few heels that can talk. And I also think Moxley made an attempt at that, though, and it didn't necessarily work out so great. I don't know. Mary, I know you're looking to say something here. What are your thoughts on that?
It's like when Andrade was particularly in WWE, like, I'm sorry, there was no other perfect mouthpiece for him than Zelina Vega. So to go from as hot as those two were to now him back in the Don Callis family, it's kind of like what Anthony says, like the track record, it has to mark, or otherwise it won't. He'll just be disappeared in 2 weeks, not knowing what to do with him again.
That's what I'm afraid of, is if we have this conversation like 1 month from today, it might be very different. And you have something.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. You do the Kenny thing, and then what? If I'm start saying Andrade in a 6-man tag on Collision, no one cares. No one cares. Like, are you going to disappear like that?
Yeah,
that's the problem. There's too many people in that group. Like, Josh Alexander doesn't need to be in that group. You could be doing something. He doesn't need a mouthpiece.
To your point earlier,
Fletcher doesn't need a mouthpiece. Like, certain people don't need mouthpieces. Like, I get it. Like, you could. Archer doesn't need to be in there unless Archer's the bodyguard of Don. Yeah. I don't get the logic of him being there. Again, I understand for the mouthpiece for Takeshita, Okada, Andrade. Like, I get it, because that's not their first language. But like, other people that can kind of survive on their own probably shouldn't be a part of this group.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because you mentioned Josh Alexander, and I know, you have your history as far as being a huge TNA fan and following his entire career. People, not me, people other than me, were critical of the booking of Alexander versus Hangman. I'm like, that's a big time match.
Yes.
I don't understand it. Donnie, who is friends of Josh, said respectfully, Josh does need a mouthpiece. I don't know, man. It depends on the time, but I will say that's hard to argue with because you are friends with him personally. But say there with the real question is, does Andrade go over on Kenny Omega?
He should.
I think that's the only shot, but I have a bad feeling he's got an angel that might be missing a wing in his future. It is all I'm saying. Yeah, a good old one-winged angel just to get things going there.
Honestly, the problem with any of these feuds with Don Callis family, I feel like and I've said this before on the show, whoever's feuding with a member of the Don Callis family, I feel like they're feuding with Don. Like, it's not really getting the other people over. They're feuding with Don. It's all surrogates of Don, and again with Kenny. Like, at some point, when does that end? When does the Kenny Don feud end? Because they're just bringing in new people to continue the feud.
And that's one thing that I find interesting, because I've actually enjoyed quite a bit of some of the Kenny and Don stuff, but it's almost like we know how close their relationship is and like how close of friends they are, from the same place and known each other forever and all of that. And it just seems so obvious that they want to work together. That's why it feels dragged out. And it's like, part of me is like, of course I want to work with my buddies too.
Yeah.
Right. It would make sense. I get how you get there, but execution wise, it hasn't been exactly perfect.